Star Trek 57, M23, take 2.
Star Trek podcast.
The last one was about... My memory isn't very good. No, I remember. I went walking in the morning. It was very cold. But tell her I wore my sweater. She worries about that sort of thing. And I what? And I saw they had torn down that old building where you and the other children used to play. And, what? Tell her that it rained for 2.5 days. I don't know if she can see the sky where they're keeping her.
Great Greg gives egregious agreements.
What?
Great Greg gives egregious agreements.
I'm going to go ahead and guess that this is some sort of a new warm-up exercise.
Great Greg gives egregious agreements.
I'm going to further...
Great Greg gives egregious... That's hard to say.
I'm going to take an executive action here.
Great Greg gives egregious...
Seashell.
I'm going to declare that the podcast has begun.
Oh, it has begun.
Great Greg gives egregious agreements.
Even if we haven't concluded our vocal warm-up exercises so that we can have those smooth, delicious voices that you love coming into your ears every week. Hey, everybody, welcome to the It's Got Star Trek podcast.
Spy Report.
It's starting now. Bro.
You have digitally turned on the It's Got Star Trek podcast. This is how we always sound. Everything's normal. Everything's fine. This is episode 185 of the It's Got Star Trek podcast. We're ready to go.
We're ready to do this.
Oh, hey.
What's up?
Before we start the podcast, I would like to, one of our audience fans wished me a happy birthday, and I would just like to say thanks, because I'm not on Twitter, because when you're over 75, it's hard to do. Twitter's just not, I just don't get it. I'm over 75.
Jesse is not that much older than Dan nor I. Dan and I are in a similar age bracket. Jesse is very close to that age bracket, but with...
Are we over the generational age bracket?
There's a sufficient division that we learn division differently. and as a result...
Sufficient division of mission.
I don't think I can even do that.
I've got a sufficient division of mission. I can't remember what I'm saying anymore. Sufficient division of emission.
You're just interrupting what I'm saying.
Can you remember something if it's just made up gibberish?
I didn't interrupt.
Remembering?
I didn't. Actually, Patrick interrupted. Well, Patrick bounced off you.
We all
Patrick bounced off you, and then I interrupted Patrick. Okay, guys, keep at it. I'm sorry.
Patrick tried to start the podcast.
I'm just saying I'm not on Twitter, and it was Jessie from the Crusher Convo. And she said happy birthday.
Yeah, Jessie and Michelle as well.
Yeah.
Michelle as well.
I think Patrick was on their podcast.
Michelle as well.
And he told them he probably told them because he was at my birthday party.
At my birthday. Michelle as well.
It was a fun birthday party.
Yeah.
It was a very fun time hanging out with the Crusher Convo folks, Jesse and Michelle, and having a great conversation. I think that episode is scheduled to drop, as the kids say. I don't like that term, but it's a colloquial term that people understand.
I think people probably don't even say that anymore. Isn't that that's a 10 or 15-year-old?
It could be. That mean? Well, what it does mean is I think that episode is scheduled to be released on July 2nd.
I think people went back to saying release.
If you're listening to this in the future after July 2nd, 2023, you need not wait. You can scurry right over to the Crusher Convo podcast and listen to my guest spot. We discussed the TNG classic, The Game, in which Wesley walks in on his mom playing the mind sex.
And what happens?
Sex game. Yes. Okay. Well,
Wait, did we do that one?
I thought we did, but we didn't.
Oh yeah, I don't think we did.
I looked it up, and it's not. We did. In my mind, we did the game.
We have
but
referenced it, and
I think we've just.
I think we've
referenced
always just thought about how we're going to do it.
Yeah.
Then-
Understood.
So we should do that sometime. But in the
Yeah.
meantime,
well, we're going to
You
do
can do that.
Voyager.
yeah. Well, today we'll do Voyager.
And you know who's on this episode?
well, we're getting
Who's
there.
on this Voyager
I
episode?
just wanted to first.
Bilana's on it.
That's exactly right.
Okay, I get it.
Bilana's on it.
Yes, in this case, every once in a while, Bilana
She's
is
on
on the podcast or is in the episode on the episode
On the podcast.
on the podcast.
Bilana's on it.
Well, we've gotten off to an excellent start
Auspicious.
here. Okay, yes. Happy
They
birthday.
call it auspicious.
Happy birthday, Jesse. Thank you, Crusher Convo. Head over, check out their very excellent podcast. They've got tons of podcasts in there. Even though they're only on like episode, like I think coming up on 6 right now, they did they covered all the Star Trek Picard. So as bonus
Yeah.
episodes. So they've got tons of episodes. So go check it out. Go
Right
listen.
on.
And this episode, which we are alluding to, oddly coyly, is
Coily like a slinky.
what?
Coily.
Got coils.
No.
Slinky. Slinky.
This did I mention this is episode 100? I did say it 185. I said it in a goofy voice.
Yeah, you
right?
did.
I was all like, "Oh, it's episode
It's a
185." But to get slowly back on track, this episode we will be discussing Star Trek Voyagers season 2 episode. It's episode number 12. And I don't know why my verbal constructions this evening
Season 2.
seem to be purposefully obtuse. They're not. It's not purposeful. I'm just in a.
I love your stories.
I'm in a giggly mood here. Perhaps to counteract the fact that this is a real touching and fucked up story. It's like one of the most fucked up things. I have very little recollection
It
of
is
this
really
episode.
touching.
I haven't even mentioned the episode title yet. It's season 2, episode 12, Resistance. It was interesting that it didn't have anything to do with the Borg.
They've probably got the resistance movement under surveillance.
Yes.
We told you already. We don't know anything about the resistance.
You can't deny being in contact with the resistance.
Besides, he's involved with the Alsurian resistance movement.
It's
he would
like
Physical resistance.
it's one of those episodes where they just keep
Saying the name of the
saying
episode.
the name of the
Like this one. Wait.
Physical resistance is.
Futile?
Resistance.
Is it futile?
Physical resistance is
Futile? No, it's
No.
ineffective.
Ineffective. That was
Did you get that?
yes.
I want me to do it again.
Physical resistance is.
The people that wrote the episode were
Physical
sure that
resistance
they were
is.
going to say it differently.
Physical resistance is.
Futile? Is it futile? No,
They
it's
made a point of saying ineffective.
Is it futile? No, it's
Ineffective.
Okay. Are we
There's
good?
a fine line between futile and ineffective. I'd
Yeah.
say.
So
Yes.
we're bringing some small semblance of order back
Let's
to this
start the
podcast.
podcast.
Rokana! No!
So Dan is being very distracted over here, but that's quite all right. That's his function. This is primary.
We have insufficient
primary
evidence
function.
to dismiss either conclusion.
Yes. This episode, Resistance, finds our hero crew on some planet looking for some business.
They need to get something to fix their
Telarium.
jiggity janks.
Telarium, which is a real thing.
Is it a real thing?
Is it
Apparently.
real? Is it?
Oh, yes.
Is it on the?
Dan's one of them.
periodic-
He's one of them. Look him up. Types.
According to Wikipedia,
Look it up.
tellurium is a chemical element with the symbol Te and atomic number of 52.
Oh,
It is
52.
It is a brittle, mildly toxic, rare silver white metalloid.
Metalloid. That sounds
Most
fucked
of
up.
those things on the
That's
table.
like when
are
incels call
mildly
women
toxic.
femoids.
Oh lord.
It's chemically
Metalloid.
It's chemically related to selenium.
Metalloid.
Like an alkaloid.
It's
Oh, it's a metalloid.
it's chemically related to selenium and sulfur or selenium. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay.
Beware the metalloids.
It is occasionally found in native form as elemental crystals. So that's probably why they use it, because it's crystals and it helps their crystal drive.
You always need a crystal on that warp.
Well, I'm
drive.
cool with them using real stuff.
We know
Instead of dilithium.
they're at the planet collecting tellurium.
The first person we see
Quatrax
is sneaky Neelix.
Not Darrow.
Sneaky Neelix.
Neelix is actually worth a shit in this episode. He's halfway decent.
Well,
He's halfway
because
fucking
he's being all
useful.
sneaky and he's lying.
He's like, I know how to be a sneak in the fucking Delta.
But
Force.
this is I actually have all that he's contributed, like in terms of dialogue, anything that really contributed anything to the episode. We have there's 3 instances. This one.
Someone must have told them we were coming. The Mokra have informants everywhere.
Okay, now this is another one. So just a.
The Mokra have informants everywhere.
So that's his first tip.
I'm glad they. Isn't Mokra such a great name? Because that's one of my favorite vegetables, Mokra.
Yeah, I'm not.
Because he goes in the gumbo.
Yeah, I'm not a big Mokra man.
Oh, Mokra's so good.
Are you making a joke on okra?
You can fry Mokra.
So
Mokra.
Jesse does legitimately really like okra. Now I do as well, but I think Jesse is like
Mokra goes in gumbo.
So I
thought the Mokra sounded like some sort of alien coffee.
It's actually spelled like M-O-K or like M-Okra.
So as I was saying, Neelix contributed about 3 different things. That was the first.
The Mokra have informants everywhere.
Now here's the second thing that he contributed.
The Mokra are paranoid and hostile. They have little use for diplomacy. I wouldn't be surprised if they started shooting at us immediately.
And then the third one, the last one he had to contribute was...
He's not like any Mokra I've ever met. I can't believe he'll really help us.
Because Neelix is a racist piece of shit.
He's not like any
he also said something about how he didn't think Darude was like was a spy or anything. So I guess that counts too. But like that's all he basically did this episode. And he snuck around. He did sneak around, and he implicitly helped us through the episode. His presence sort of like, it was implied that he went through and got all the intel.
He was halfway decent.
But he didn't do any. But he
halfway
didn't,
useful.
But none of his dialogue really expressed that to my recollection. It was mostly just him telling us what the Mokra
like
are.
He was sitting in meetings with fucking Chakotay and shit. Like,
well, the senior staff of Voyager is hilarious because it's got like a couple of ensigns, some criminals, some terrorists.
Yeah, like a couple of terrorists and a criminal.
I think it's great. It's great Star Trek. It's kind of funny. And it's more acute in this scenario where Janeway, Tuvok, and B'Elanna are out of commission. Because like when you get Harry in charge of fixing the engines, it's like, no offense, I like Harry. Harry's a great character.
Oh,
but
he's great. Yeah.
Do you really need an ensign being all like, I'll be making the decisions here?
You need B'Elanna's on it.
B'Elanna's on it.
There we go. But you know who's not on it? Damn.
I hit the button. I hit the button and it didn't do anything. So what they were so I guess they thought they were subversives, is just why they fought them on the planet. And I got a question. Is B'Elanna an In-N-Out burger? Because she served them the old triple-double fist, that is.
I've never been to an In-N-Out burger, and I don't.
They have a burger called the Triple Double, and
Jesse, given that we live on the East Coast, you'd have to travel about as far to go to an In-N-Out burger as Dan did to make that joke.
Oh shit, you motherfucker!
That was a good burn. It was a good burn. We've been practicing burns offline.
She gave him
off of the podcast.
She gave him the triple.
Try to get good at burning.
She gave him the triple double fist. She hit him 3 times with that double fist.
Yes.
3 times, and she knocked him out.
fist.
She gave him the triple double from In-N-Out. Fist, that is.
Yes.
She gave him the triple. That Darude looked like Jay Moore to me.
Now, are you talking about the sexy desert people in the Zelda game in Breath of the Wild? Is that Darude?
No,
or are you talking about the song?
You're thinking of the pea hats or whatever.
The song. What's
Isn't
the
there something
song?
called a pea hat?
What's the song? The song with Darude. The Darude Sandstorm. From the 2000s.
You're asking me, but I think you know the answer.
I'm making conversation.
I don't know what
this is a
he's
podcast.
asking.
This is we're having a conversation for entertainment purposes.
Don't force me into your lies. Like
it's not a lie. I'm just asking about the Darude Sandstorm.
You know the answer. Okay.
I'm not asking you to sing it. I'm not going to sing it. You don't got to sing it.
Yeah, that Darude Sandstorm. Yeah, I know that song.
That was like an early 2000s thing.
Yeah, it was.
Apropos of nothing.
The early 2000s.
Before that, there was 2 Unlimited. They did that. Or did they do that? No, they did the. No, they did.
Ninjutsu.
Or no, they did the one that was like.
Was that the Mortal Kombat?
No, the Mortal Kombat was different. Mortal Kombat was different. Mortal Kombat was different and it was better.
That's not
Well, yes,
late.
it was
That's
better.
early.
That was late 90s.
The Mortal Kombat one was like the same riff, but it was better. I don't know who did the Mortal Kombat. Yeah, that's a badass fucking song. He's all like, fight, fatality,
Raiden,
yeah,
Sub-Zero.
yeah.
Okay, but
It's really awesome.
I apologize. I was interrupting a point. My slogan
We're
is
old.
apropos of nothing. Jesse doesn't have a slogan. He just says non sequiturs from time to time. And Dan's slogan is, as I was trying to say.
What were we talking about?
I don't recall.
Chakotay.
You're supposed to say, as I was trying to say, and then you make the point.
Oh, so you're telling me, so I'm not playing into this game of yours?
No,
you're
this
trying to
is not
lead
a
me down a
game.
path, just like with that fake question about Darude a second ago. You're leading me down a path here.
Okay, it was not a fake. I don't know what a fake question
Well,
is.
you already knew the answer. He's like, what's that Darude?
Well, that would be
a
a
question.
rhetorical,
What's that
that'd be a
song?
rhetorical question.
What's that song?
Rhetorical
What's
question,
that?
a fake question.
Sandstorm? Well, wait, what? I can't remember. Sandstorm?
Sandstorm.
You're starting to slip into Trip Tucker the third. Cam, what were you saying, Cam?
I was saying, last I was saying was that Darude guy looked like Jay Moore.
Oh,
Yeah,
word.
that
Okay,
was funny.
that's the point.
Yeah,
That's the
that was the
point.
point.
That was a funny one.
That was the point.
And I agree, even though I think most of our audience won't know who Jay Moore is. Because
Look it up, baby.
He's not around anymore.
He's briefly in that new Amazon Prime movie Air, starring Jason Bateman and Matt Damon.
Really?
I haven't seen that.
He's briefly in there for like a second. So he was a comedian turned serious actor,
Yeah. No, he was totally a thing for a bit.
and not like super.
And then a
serious.
cartoon character.
He was. Who was he?
He was on something.
Okay, Dan, can you clarify? That was a sound clip you just played. Correct. Oh my god. Okay. I see some possibilities there. Interesting. What we were talking still about that.
Darude.
Yeah, all
Darad.
I know this is all over the place, but Janeway and Neelix and Tuvok and B'Elanna are on this planet. They're trying to get some deal done, trade some tellurium. Apparently, what's going on is Neelix has gotten a little sample, and then he's brought it over to Janeway and the rest of the totally shady, not very good at being undercover crew.
Mm-hmm.
As a reminder, we not too long ago we did Future's End, and they also had a problem being undercover in Future's End. But they're standing around in this market looking all shady. Janeway tests the material and is like, "All right, this is some good shit." And then so I believe what happens then, and please correct me if I'm wrong, I believe what happens then is Neelix goes back to be like, "All right, the deal's on. The stuff is good. The deal's on." So he's out of the picture when the Mokra assholes come and start being all like fucking people up. And then they're like getting in a fight where I think both Janeway and B'Elanna do what I don't know what their term is. Do you know the term, Dan, when you hit somebody with the bottom of your hand?
It's like a palm strike.
Like a palm strike.
They
both do that to people wearing what are clearly very, very high grade motorcycle helmets.
Yeah.
And they're like, whap! And the guys are all like, no! I was like, well, what the fuck is the point of that helmet, man?
Yeah. That was a classic Star Trek fight. What was I watching recently where they were doing something similar?
Was it Star Trek Picard?
No, it was.
Was it Time Tracks?
I've never seen Time Tracks.
Oh, Time Tracks is great.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Was it Mr. Belvedere?
No, it wasn't Mr. Belvedere.
So it's even further back.
No, it was something recently I just saw this week.
Mr. Belvedere.
Was it Out of This World?
Is Mr. Belvedere available
Maybe it was
on any
that
sort of streaming
Maybe it was that Sweet Tooth
I
show
think
or
Mr.
something.
Belvedere is available on some form of streaming service.
I would hope so. I would have to research.
I think I saw its icon somewhere along the way.
Yeah.
Maybe it's on Pluto, or it could be on Tubi. Tubi's good.
It was that an ABC?
If you go to Tubi
or an NBC,
you can find
Could
Captain
be on
Janeway
Peacock.
in all sorts of other stuff. Because she was on all
word.
sorts of other stuff.
Yeah, she was.
She was in a lot of good stuff.
Yeah.
Wake me if the lieutenant shows up, will you?
Doesn't he sound like that guy from
Kate
that
Mulgrew
show?
was great.
This guy, he sounds.
Wake me if the lieutenant shows up, will you?
He sounds like that guy from. It was in Freaks and Geeks. He was the principal, and then he was also in some other stuff. But he also kind of sounds like that other dude from with the big beard and he's in comedies and he's also in Stranger Things.
Santa Claus.
He's that guy with the
Brett Gelman.
Oh yeah, Brett Gelman.
It kind of sounds like Brett Gelman too. He's dead?
Wake me if the lieutenant
he was
great.
I thought you said he was dead.
No, he's awesome.
I didn't say that.
Okay, you're talking about Janeway and palm striking to the helmets.
It was a good Star Trek fight.
Yeah, it was a decent one.
No shade to Picard. I think Picard was great. I found the whole like Janeway undercover in a village, not a village, but like in a shady hallway. Now, why am I picking these stupid words in a goddamn shady market?
You're blowing it.
An alleyway market, an alien planet. I found this one way more convincing. Maybe not way more, but this and the fight, it all like made more sense to me geographically. I could understand what was going on a little bit better. I don't mention that to rag on Picard because we are fans of Picard. Mm-hmm. I mentioned that because during Picard, we mentioned there were a couple fights that were cool, but a little hard to follow. And it looked like they didn't have a lot of like space to maneuver in. Whereas here, this is a good example of where I thought it was a good 90s style TV Star Trek fight.
The first season of Picard had like a pro wrestling moves in it.
Yeah,
they were doing all sorts of crazy shit. Like it seems like they had a different choreographer.
The first season of Picard is out there, man.
It's got them brother and sister weirdness.
Which is more out there, the first or second season though? The second one is pretty fucking.
Second one is like out there in a space-time continuum sort of way.
Second one's out there in a kind of disappointing way. It's like you're going along, you're like, okay, this is cool, it's cool, and then you're like,
it's just like,
there's like cool bits in it.
Oh, that FBI guy, where's he? He's gonna come back. He's gonna come back. He's gonna play a role later. No.
Wow, that's Star Trek. Well, you can go back and listen to it. We've
discussed it.
Can now officially state that we have covered each and every episode that there will ever be of Star Trek Picard. So feel free to scroll back in the feed.
And that's why we're back.
Or go to the website www.itsgotstartrek.com and you can sort by series.
It's got Picard.
Click on the series and boom, all the links will be there for the specific times we've discussed those series. In this case, right now, right here today, we're discussing Star Trek Voyager, Season 2.
I love your stories.
Episode 12, Resistance.
Is what? Is it futile?
It's got nothing to do with
no
capacitors or anything like that. It's all about resistance.
Is resistance futile? No, it's
ineffective.
What about resistance training? I've heard resistance training can be quite effective. But it depends, I suppose.
I guess it depends on how you do it. I don't know.
It doesn't.
Are you talking about circuit training with resistance circuit training?
Okay, so we're dilly-dallying a little bit. We just don't want to get to this. We'll talk about like all the serious stuff in the next break.
The teleplay is by Lisa Klink.
Yeah.
The story was by Jan Michael Vincent. Oops. No, I'm sorry. I mean, it was Michael Jan Friedman.
What?
Oh, I'm so sorry.
What?
Oh,
I did the same thing.
My foolish brain. What am I even thinking of?
What?
I'm glad somebody did a joke.
What?
Okay, so
what? So apparently,
Jan Quadrant Vincent.
We're still in this thing where
what?
The Mokra capture. Who do they capture? They capture Tuvok and B'Elanna.
Mm-hmm.
But they almost capture Janeway, but are unable to because enters stage right, Calum. Calum jumps in.
Joel Grey.
Played by Joel Grey. And Joel Grey is the father of...
Jean Grey.
No. Well, that's a good guess. Kind of. Not really.
This is going to be interesting.
Jennifer Grey.
Oh.
Of Dirty Dancing fame.
Right on.
And he is the son of Broadway he was a Broadway and film star. His dad was Mickey Katz, who was a famed comic singer, probably most famous for singing the Davy Crockett song. Davy Crockett.
I've heard of that fellow.
I looked up a couple of other famous songs. Google lists these as his most popular songs. So Davy Crockett is listed number 1. Then there's Knish Doctor. That Pickle in the Window.
Is that the one that's like, how much is that pickle in the window? Yeah.
I don't know what sound a pickle makes, because that song normally has the dogs. How much is that
squirts.
puppy in the window?
Does it go just like?
That's the way the pickle squirts.
Oh, we shouldn't make these
You can
noises.
go listen to. We did an episode.
People
was it
hate
last
those
year?
noises.
No, they love it. They love the.
Oh, God.
We did an It's Not Star Trek episode called "It's Got Pickle."
Yeah, but it requires it required a disclaimer at the beginning that
because we totally chow down on some pickles.
If you have
we were crunchy.
If you have soundophobia or whatever that's called, like you have a problem.
Here's some other songs by Mickey Katz, father of Joel Grey, Broadway and film star, starred in Cabaret, and played Calum.
Understood.
Calum in this episode. Other songs by his dad were "Where Is My Pants?"
Where is my pants?
What does that mean?
I always ask that.
The Poiple Kishke Eater. The Poiple Kishke Eater. The Poiple Kishke Eater.
That's not possible.
What makes it poiple? A sweet
It's
potato?
spelled Poiple.
Use a sweet potato?
I'm a schlemiel of fortune.
It's too dangerous.
I don't understand that particular pun. I'm guessing it's a pun.
That's a...
Long story short,
forget what that means.
I know what a schlemiel. There's a schlemiel and a schlemazel.
Right.
And Jerry Gergich on Parks and Recreation, he's both. He's both the schlemiel and the schlemazel.
That's
It's like the person who causes the bad thing or the person the bad thing happens to.
Right. That's the only time I ever heard that explained in Parks and Recreation.
Okay.
So
Are you getting to the part where that guy saves Janeway and then he's all like, "You're my daughter," and she's all like, "Awkward."
It was awkward because he kept on touching on her.
This whole episode
Yeah.
is really awkward.
Yeah, it's really.
There's that one time when she's just like, "I'm sorry, I have to go."
Yeah, like right. The I think these sounds.
He's like, "Can you write me a letter?"
Well, these sounds I was playing earlier that was like.
Yeah.
Wait, I think that might be Balana. There was one that was like. Okay, that was like.
Do you not label these?
I do, but I gave him a dirty name instead.
Oh no!
So I can't remember. But
don't worry, I'm not going to ask you.
They're all labeled Janeway, so I'll just have to trust they're all Janeway.
Oh, no.
So this one right here.
This one, yeah. Okay.
That's when she first woke up in his place, Cayman's place.
Oh, really?
And then these two. That's when she discovered that he like changed her clothes.
It's similar to this scene in Back to the Future when Marty McFly wakes up and he's not wearing any pants.
Yeah.
And his mother has taken his pants off of him.
And she thinks his name is Calvin Klein.
Yeah.
Because that's what it says on his underpants.
And she probably looked at his penis because the whole undercurrent, the whole subtext of that movie.
She's into that
The whole plot centers on a never mind. Y'all have seen it.
If you haven't seen it,
it's a great movie.
You're not listening to the podcast.
Okay. All right, keep going. Keep going there, Dan.
So that was it. Those were the. That was her being freaked out because he changed her clothes, and it was a really uncomfortable scenario, right? The whole thing. What was next?
Well, this whole business is sort of interesting to me because you have this A story and the B story, and the A story is Janeway dealing with Calum, and she's trying to rescue her people, of course. And we'll talk about that in a second. But then you have this B story, which is the remaining crew, the remaining ragtag senior staff, including Neelix, are trying to. They're trying to rescue the crew, to rescue their lost colleagues. And the thing is that this story, this side of the story, is so fucking rote and boring. Mm-hmm. But when that might normally be a problem, except I think in this case it's not, because I think it's a good balance to how serious and upsetting and it is engaging, this story, the A story with Janeway and Calum, but it is continuously fucked up and upsetting. So I kind of like that they had this really all right, we fixed the engines. Okay. We're going to say stupid things like their orbital sensor net covers the entire planet. All right. Good job there, Harry. They
have metaphasic shields.
Wait,
the planet is surrounded by the prison is surrounded by metaphasic shields.
Wait, speaking of that was actually my favorite line, just the way he spoke it.
I've been studying their orbital sensor net.
Isn't there something that's just like really here?
Like he's not quite getting through
net.
it.
Orbital sensor net. Orbital sensor net.
Yeah.
Orbital sensor
Isn't
net.
I agree.
He's pronouncing that really like hard.
Orbital.
Orbital
I
sensor
like
net.
Harry Kim.
Orbital
he says
sensor net.
things
I
funny.
do like Harry Kim.
That was a ridiculous line, but it was my favorite sounding line in the whole episode. He was getting some attitude actually in this episode.
Baby.
I thought you were like, he was getting some ass.
He was getting some attitude.
That's a non sequitur.
He was this
We
one.
already
We're
talked
gonna
about
reduce our power demands even further. We're gonna have to drop the shields.
I don't want to leave the ship defenseless this close to a hostile planet.
All of the systems are already offline. Life support is at minimal. You asked for options? That's our last one.
So that's some attitude, and here's a shorter one that's
right.
also some attitude.
That's the best head start I can give you.
Then it'll have to do. How long will it take to modify the deflector?
I can do it right now.
He was secretly like he was secretly like, yeah, that's the best I can do. It's better than what you could do.
It's when you're in ops, you have an attitude. When like somebody in command.
Do you think that was?
trying to
Do,
tell you
do you think that was the unspoken? What was unspoken there? Is that like when Chakotay was like, when he was like, I guess that's the best we can do. And you think when Henry was like, do you think Henry was secretly like
mean Harry?
Harry? Do you think Harry was? Do you think?
Well, Harry is short for Henry.
Do you think Harry was secretly? Do you think Harry was secret?
Harry is not short for Henry.
Yeah, it is.
It's a mispronunciation. Move on.
No, it is. Harry is a nickname for Henry.
Well, I thought Harry was short for Harold.
It could be Harold as well.
We can move on. It's not like a. It's not like
Prince
Harry's
Harry's
not brilliant.
Prince Harry's name is Henry.
All right, I'll believe you.
Anyway, I was just saying, I think that Harry secretly was like, damn right, it's the best I can do. You know, it's better than what you could do.
For me, my favorite part of that line is where Chakotay's like, how long will it take you or whatever, and Kim is like, I can do it right now.
Oh yeah, right.
And then Chakotay's all like, that's great because that means we don't have to stop the scene here and then like come back to it later to finish it. We can just go like right into. We can immediately start getting shot at.
Kind of a different scene.
Okay, how about this? Let's take a break, and then when we get back, we can start dipping into the Mokra and Janeway and Caleb, getting a little more details. All right, we will be right back.
And we're back.
Patrick hates it when he does that.
No, I love it. I love it. It's a good indication. Jesse's like, hey, he's got shit to do tomorrow.
As long as it's tastefully.
As long as B'Elanna's on it.
So as long as B'Elanna's on it. I'm not even... I don't have it like one button that says B'Elanna's on it, like in the corner of my screen all the time.
You're my number one Dan.
You should have like a separate laptop with just that song.
B'Elanna's on it.
There you go.
B'Elanna's on it.
Damn right. Damn right.
What I was gonna say is that so the Mokra, we got this Ogris guy who's like,
Ogris, yes.
who seemed like he was being generous, but he wasn't, obviously. Now it's confusing because maybe it is not confusing, and I'm just confused. Is that he said like when they were like we were looking for our people, and he was like, "I'll find your people for you," right?
Yeah.
And but was he really intending to give them the people? He thought they were subversives, so like. Why did he say he was going to get them? Originally, I thought he was going to fetch them and give them back to the Voyager so the Voyager could
But there would still be, Janeway would still be missing, so...
Well, I thought the goal he was going to have was to give them all back so they could get out of their hair. Basically be like, I don't want any trouble from you. You guys go off. But it seems like he assumed they were part of the resistance.
Yes.
And so... Why did he offer to find them? I'm not really sure. Maybe it was, or maybe he was just placating them, I guess. I don't know.
This episode overall, I think, is very well written. I think it's well paced. I think most of it holds together very well. There are a couple little bits and pieces, and I think that you've just identified one, Dan, where I think we're supposed to take what Neelix says at face value. The problem is we as the audience just don't trust him.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why would he know?
Absolutely.
It really sounds like he's being super racist.
He's a space creep.
So we're
those other guys automatically suspect him because he's a fucking space creep.
So the thing is that he's all like telling us that they're all pieces of shit. All these motherfuckers are pieces of shit. Don't trust them. And then we're presented with a Mokra person, this Ogris fella. He's coming off as sort of fascist and he's kind of coming off as assholey, but not unreasonable, right? He's like, okay, we'll check it out. And so we then find out that no, in fact, he knows exactly where at least Tuvok and B'Elanna are, and he thinks they're part of this resistance business. So he's going to torture them and do all this other stuff. So I think retroactively, we're supposed to understand that Neelix was being totally correct. It's just that we don't trust Neelix. The way it was written was awkward. The way it was acted was a little bit awkward. So I don't think that comes across super clearly. And you kind of have to retroactively piece that back together. Once you do that, then you're like, okay, I know what type of story they're telling. These guys are assholes. And so the point of this is going to be like anti-asshole.
I liked when he
Your classic Star Trek anti-asshole story.
Well, I like when Auguste said,
I'm afraid that will be difficult in the current climate of mistrust.
I like that line. It's nothing.
The actor's great.
It's not
Alan Scarf.
The line isn't anything new or anything, but like his delivery is great.
That
for
play that again because pay special attention to the very last word.
I'm afraid that will be difficult in the current climate of mistrust.
Mistrust. But also, I also
and somehow Palpatine returned.
But I also like how they specifically didn't say I don't trust you. He said he made
Mistrust.
it because if he
made it annoyingly complicated in a charmingly annoying, obnoxious
when you
way.
do that, what you do is when you say I don't trust you, you're saying that you actively don't trust someone. So it's like you're partly responsible because you actively don't do it. Yeah. When you say
he was being diplomatic,
but when you say in the current
goes against what Neelix was
when you're saying in the current climate of distrust, it means like you have nothing to do with it. It's not you take no responsibility for the mistrust or the lack of trust, which is the same as mistrust. You don't take responsibility for those actions. They just exist. Yeah. And so it takes the responsibility off yourself. Right, to be diplomatic and
he's
saying
giving a diplomatic response.
Yeah, he's saying fuck you, but he's saying it in a way that you can't hate him for it, even though secretly you have to hate him for it.
We're both saying fuck you to each other but in the diplomatic algorithm.
The diplomatic algorithm. There was
snake your way in there.
There was another line that he actually delivered. It was right at the end.
So much tragedy for one man to bear.
I thought something about that. He was he's got some good had some good deliveries. Just like
he told us all the backstory for everything.
Just like Janeway makes great faces. I've always said that she always has great facial expressions.
Yeah.
She did one after she dressed up as the was trying to seduce that guy. You remember that scene where she was going to seduce that guy?
Right.
Try getting Picard to do that, huh?
Pretended to be a good time girl.
Could you believe Picard would do that? Anyways, after she
are you asking if I believe that Picard would become a good time girl?
Yeah.
In order to do a mission? I'd like to think so. I'd like to think yes.
But so she gave a great look
when that dude gave her the necklace and she was
I'd like to see Worf as a good time girl.
After she's
my good time boy.
After she seduced
you and he were
he's
buddies,
definitely a good
you?
time. Yeah.
After she seduced him, like Caleb said, I like when you do that, or whatever it was that he was like, I like your strategy. That's what he said, and she gave this look, like this childish, girlish little childish smile. She gave I did it.
So Caleb was approving her strategy of like offering a hand job to the bad guy.
That's apparent.
While he thought she was his daughter.
Yeah, that's. I didn't want to.
He was telling his daughter in his delusion. Mm-hmm. He was telling his daughter, which, by the way, I know most people have seen the episode when they listen to the podcast. I'm realizing now that if you are one of the small number of people who just listen to have fun, you're just like, I just like these guys are guys. They're so goofy. I'm just going to listen to them.
Dan guy's always saying.
We haven't explained. Not that we do, but we haven't explained clearly that the situation with Caleb is that he believes, because he's under some delusion, he believes that
he's
Janeway,
been through a traumatic event.
Yes, he believes that Janeway is his daughter. And that's what this relationship is formed. And I bring that up now because I'm now made uncomfortable because I did see the scene you're talking about and I just didn't think about it at the time.
Right. And that was not my point I was making.
I
realized it when it was happening. I was like, that's kind of weird. I wasn't going to bring it up, but I guess, I'm glad if someone did. And
I
it was
think
not
it is incumbent
on
on one of us to, if when we're watching Star Trek, if incest comes up, we're not pro or anti-incest. We're neutral on the topic. But we do need to, if it's newsworthy, it should be mentioned.
So anyways, it
should be marked. You don't want the audience to be like, those It's Got Star Trek podcast guys, they didn't mention the part where the guy thought his daughter was all like gonna be all like blah, 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 blah. And he was like, that was cool.
My point I was making was that she gave a very, very excited sort of exuberant smile, not because her pseudo father was coveting her whatever, her, oh God, I don't even know.
Her, I think you can just stop the sentence at her.
Yeah.
You can just say coveting her.
Yeah.
I mean, which itself is perhaps a stretch, an unfair stretch, but.
No, he wasn't. Okay, but she.
I don't
but
think
now,
he was
now I'm on this. Now I'm on this topic because you fucking brought it up. I was saying she was. I can't help but think about it now. What I was saying is she was exuberant because she was excited that she had such a good strategy that won. You know, and she was like, "Yeah, I did it." And just like when Harry did one earlier in the episode too, when he said.
I like how you have the whole warp engine boot up sound.
Warp engines are back online.
Goddamn right there.
All systems normal.
And he gave her like a super smile. He's like, yeah. He gave both Janeway and Harry gave the same kind of smile, just like, I did it.
He was feeling good because he's like, it's ridiculous that they put an ensign in charge of fixing the goddamn warp engines.
Right. I did have to play that whole. I made it a point to play that whole warping up noise because it was like
warping up.
Because it's so rare that you get a nice isolated warp up sound.
Warp up, yeah, warp booting
and this
up.
Was
warp
this was
drive booting up.
And this was like I was
dilithium crystal matrix just getting saturated with that antimatter.
So I had to get
little mini crystalline entities in the engines.
So I had to get the whole sound.
That's what I like to imagine.
Okay, moving on.
Yes, I'm glad you did. I'm glad you had the whole sound. I find it soothing and relaxing. Booting up the warp drive. What's the next?
Harry Kim.
Haribo. Do you want some, Jesse? Do you want some Haribo?
Yes, I do.
Jesse, do you want some Haribo?
It's delicious.
I've never heard you talk like that before.
That's a funny voice.
Oh, you know what's also clever?
Is this Jesse's new character?
Was also clever when that guy was when August was grilling Darud or Darad or whatever. And he was like, and this was after the old man Caleb got caught. He was all like saying like, I'm looking for someone, a woman.
Oh yeah, that
and
dude.
Then Darad goes like, I haven't seen any woman. And then August is like, there are two right over there. You see them, don't you? I thought that was really clever. I thought that was a clever way of tricking someone.
Yeah, and partly why I thought it was clever was because it took me a second to understand what the fuck he was talking about. And I was like, oh, and I was like, oh man, I probably would have fallen for that.
Yeah. So speaking of that scene, there was like, come on. It was really uncomfortable.
Oh, when he started doing everything. So okay,
I seem to have lost my hat. Come on.
It must be stated that Joel Grey does such a fucking brilliant job in this episode.
Come on. I seem to have lost my hat.
From beginning to end, including this scene, because yes, it's upsetting. It conjures images of marionettes, of horrifying marionettes and weird dancing little clown people.
Come on. I seem to have lost my hat. Come on. I seem to have lost my hat.
I don't know the best way to convey the simultaneous feelings of awe in this performance and with the writing that they gave him and this that he's so loving and playful but
he has a gross fucking nose.
Jesus.
So somebody cut him up.
And their broken, wrinkled noses.
For real, dude.
I was gonna mention the noses. I mean, I was gonna mention the fucked up nose business, like after heaping praise on Joel Grey.
What the hell do you want from me?
There's from this performance,
There's Delta Quadrant gross face, but these people got Delta Quadrant gross nose.
Yeah, it is. Man. It is. I do think is one of the more intense Star Trek nose
like
bits.
They just got cut up.
It is. I mean, I just thought it was a little peculiar.
That scene was weird though. When he was like, I like my hat. It was something about that made me feel like it gave me creepy crawlies.
It was.
Well,
weird.
It made my skin crawl.
You know what it is?
It wasn't cringe. It made my skin crawl. It was different.
Not that you necessarily would have thought of this outright, but it sort of evokes a similar feeling to, the stories. Remember, that whole like the Jerry Lewis movie. the Holocaust movie with the clown that no one's been able to see except for Harry Shearer for some reason. It's like locked in some vault until it's going to come out. But it's a movie where he was about like Jerry Lewis plays a clown in a concentration camp who does like gags to like distract the guards and keep them from like murdering children or something. Yeah, it's like
that sounds.
And then there was like what was that name? Roberto Benigni. He had something similar, where there was some similar kind of vibes where it's like this when you have to employ charm and clowning for the purpose of avoiding fascists, it's upsetting. Yeah. I think it's not a disconnect in a negative way. It's like they're playing with that disconnect, the opposition of the joyfulness of clowning and the horrible fascist nightmare that's maybe not fully realized in the confines of this episode, other than the literal jackboots.
Another version of the story,
motorcycle helmets.
Another version of the story. When Caleb did that, when he was all like being like, "Hello, I'm a weird guy,"
Yeah.
In another version, August would have like kicked him in the face and like they'd throw him off a cliff or did beat the shit out of him or something. But in this one they didn't, which is more diabolical or which is worse? I don't know. I guess the brutality of killing someone, of course, is worse. But like the fact that he does it as a form of manipulation.
Yes, as an example, because August says that he's like, we leave him as like the mad example, for everyone else to be like, whoa, don't fuck with those guys.
Right. So at first I thought he was just because he couldn't have been like. I was wondering why he wasn't like beating the shit out of him or something, because that's what I would have expected some kind of person to do. And I figured he was just like, I don't know, being like, this guy's harmless. That's always been a fascinating concept to me. When you're just like this killer animal and you need to eat some killer food and you need to fight someone to get your killer food. Like some other animals, you'll kill that animal so they wouldn't get your killer food. But like some animals would be so weak, you wouldn't even bother. You wouldn't even waste the energy to kill them. You'd be like, I don't need to kill you. I just like kick you aside and you can nip at me while I eat, but I don't give a fuck. So I think that's interesting because like when I think of people who are mean bad guys, I think they just want to kill everybody, but not necessarily. Sometimes it's just not worth their effort to kill people.
Well, and to expand on that, it's not just about what they want. It can also be about the context and the degree of power they have. Because even in very powerful sort of fascist dictatorial
they don't want people to rise up and shit.
There can be, the different degrees of how much control they have, and beating the shit out of a goofy old man.
That would have probably
may not be helpful to your like overall business.
It'd be bad for your
it's the same thing.
People get all pissed off at you.
You're not going to get votes.
In that old Star Wars, you guys heard of this Star Wars stuff?
Star Wars.
You guys heard of this Star Wars stuff?
What's that?
It's the kids across the street are playing this Star Wars.
Across the street?
The kids across the street, they're all like,
What does
hey.
that mean?
I know, that's what I said. I was like, what are you talking about? Star Wars? What?
That's not possible.
But
Darth Vader.
They described some similar stuff where the Empire is mean and terrible, but they also.
Oh, I've heard of that.
They have to be careful in some places.
I've heard that was propaganda.
Yes. Well,
how can you say that so calmly?
The Empire is about safety and order.
What does that mean?
We have insufficient evidence to dismiss either conclusion.
I always like a good Vulcan conversation. I thought the scenes with B'Elanna and Tuvok were really good.
Yeah.
It was a fun opportunity, early season opportunity to put them together. And because they work well together, you'd expect, I know the expectation is there's going to be some sort of explosive differences between them because she's got her Klingon side.
They're both badasses.
But yeah, I think they're both badasses and they both respect each other. And, particularly in this episode, they also communicate. I love that B'Elanna was just straight up asking him questions, and she was like, and then of course, and again, this episode is horrific in so many ways because she was all like, I used to think that Vulcans couldn't feel pain if they didn't want to until I heard
that you?
Horrible screaming. Tuvok's all calmly like, well, you know,
was that you I heard?
Yeah, it was fucked up when she was like, was that you I heard? Because she's Klingon, she's half Klingon, so she's like, she can handle some. She's not going to get thrown off by just a few little Vulcan squeaks.
She will bite
Vulcan squeaks.
You know the classic Vulcan squeak. Do you have a recording, Dan, of a Vulcan squeak? Is that on your?
A Vulcan squeak?
Yes. Do you have a recording of a Vulcan squeak? No, okay.
That's all I got.
Do you have a Vulcan? Do you have a recording of of a young Vulcan boy.
Oh, you said Vulcan, not Klingon. Oh, sorry.
Vulcan boy talking about his Sailot Ichaya. No, you
Ichaya.
don't. I have that recording somewhere. Was it taking his Sailot to Ichaya to La Mancha or something?
Your question is based on a faulty assumption.
Man,
that's all the Vulcan I have. And I have.
I regret I have no such reassurance to offer you.
I don't even know why I recorded that one.
And you didn't even do the "we ain't found shit." You don't have the.
I advise
Spaceballs,
caution.
We ain't found shit.
No, I haven't.
We ain't found shit.
I never copied that one. So.
Yeah. Oh man, well, that's fine. That's quite all right.
Look it up.
I guess that's the Vulcan way of telling me to hope for the best.
Yes. You must hope for the best.
I thought that was a perfectly fine way to say hope for the best. Like usually the Vulcans talk a lot of sense.
We have commented on this in the past, but Star Trek has one of those things often where on the one hand they are trying to present very generally fairly progressive ideas and even progressive methods of thinking, right? Progressive approaches, and not just politically progressive. I mean, just sort of conceptually more open-mindedness, more communication, more reaching out across cultures and having different experiences and stuff. And that's a good example here. But what also happens a lot in Star Trek is it's sort of like a 2 steps forward, 1 step back thing, because in order to convey the idea of you should converse across cultures, they have people saying things like, you Vulcans, you Klingons, you are all the same. And then, of course, yes, the point is that the stereotypes don't necessarily hold. But
human.
There's a whole lot of, I'm going to expressly state, I'm going to identify you into a category that I've defined.
Well, that's what Harry did to Quark, but then Quark called him out on it. Quark called him out on it. He was all like, Harry was like, I heard about you, you whatever you are, Ferengis. And he's like,
trying to hate on.
He's like, Ensign, I'm shocked, or whatever, fucking.
Yeah.
He says.
Well, Deep Space Nine was good at playing with those tropes a little bit more, melding them. I'm making hand motions that are like melding and squishing together.
Deep Space Nine.
Deep Space Nine rules.
Watch it.
Go watch Deep Space Nine.
It was the best.
Voyager's pretty cool too.
Totally.
At the beginning,
this is a very good episode. It's just very upsetting because so many sad things happen, and they keep happening.
But it's very touching, and it's a good episode for Janeway.
It's a very good episode for Janeway, particularly so early.
Particularly for her hair.
Oh yeah,
it's a good hair episode.
Janeway's hungry. Janeway's got good hair. Are you saying baby hungry? Who's hungry? I don't even remember.
Hungry? Maybe hungry?
I don't remember this. What is this?
Drink. Maybe hungry?
Was he talking to was that Kalen?
Some soup.
Kalen?
Soup.
I'm getting all confused.
I'm forgetting the soup. I'm forgetting the soup.
I don't think that guy can make any soup. And if he did, I would not eat it.
I'll fix you some soup.
I'm forgetting the soup.
Don't eat the soup that guy fixed.
Maybe hungry?
Does he say that?
Yeah, I think he says maybe hungry.
Maybe.
Okay.
It sounds like he's saying baby hungry.
It does sound like he's saying baby hungry, which adds to the creepiness.
So that's we can focus on that part. We can go back to this one.
Come on.
Well, I think we've covered most of that. Unless there were any other comments you had about that. I mean, again, the performance was good. It was the whole fascist business, which is mildly upsetting. But
At the beginning of when Chakotay calls it out, he says, "I played the sound, but check it out again. It's 2 seconds."
They've probably got the resistance movement under surveillance.
Do you think he said that because he was part of the Maquis, and they got their ass caught because they were under surveillance from Tuvok?
From Tuvok. They got Tuvok.
So Chakotay, they got Tuvok.
They got Tuvok. Tuvok is good at being undercover. Mm-hmm. The rest of those motherfuckers, they don't know what the fuck they're doing.
Yeah, they just have to put.
They've probably got the resistance movement under surveillance.
Sorry, they just put something to cover their ears, like a hat to cover their ears. Then they're undercover. That's how Vulcans go undercover. And I didn't make that up. I know it sounds like I sound like a piece of shit for saying that, but they do it in the show.
Well, the Maquis are a disappointing organization.
Ken looked very sincere when he started yelling.
They just put a hat on and cover their pointy ears.
I didn't make that up. It's a real thing. Spock did it all the fucking time.
All Vulcan has to do to blend in with humans.
Tuvok wore a bandana.
He's just got to put a hat on to cover them pointy ears.
Yeah.
That's all they gotta do.
What about their green pallid skin?
The copper-based
Who?
blood.
The Vulcans.
They don't have green skin.
Well, they got the green blood.
Green blood. They got the green blood.
They got the green blood.
What about when they're
doesn't
always,
show through their
They're always
skin.
showing their ass.
Yeah, Jesse's all about this whole Vulcan show and ass thing, which I don't think is real.
We used
Jesse
to
insists that there's what was it that show and ass is like an old Vulcan practice where it's like saying fuck you to somebody or something.
Yeah. Well, you're showing your ass. It's like, you know.
I remember learning that our blood before it left our bodies was blue.
Yeah, but you learned wrong.
Yeah, I know.
It depends on
I don't know why I learned that.
where it is in your body.
I learned that
People
from a
lied
school.
to you.
I think I learned that in elementary. I feel like a teacher told me
Elementary
that.
school lies to you. The elementary school is still telling people that Columbus was like
FCPS.
like thought the world was flat. He didn't think the world was
Back
flat.
when my
No,
he
nobody
thought the world was
that.
like shaped like an egg or some shit.
Yeah.
So back when my younger brother was in elementary school,
That was
like
a long time
way
ago.
early in elementary school, him and his friend were being taught in math class that anything divided by 0 is 0, and that is
That's very wrong.
that's so
it's
that's
undefined.
that's offensively wrong.
Yeah.
Yes.
Zero.
It's not 0.
I mean, it's fucked up.
yeah.
It's dangerous.
Yeah.
It's
It's a
dangerous
da-
to
it's
be
a-
teaching kids that.
I think they did have this thing where they teach people things wrong the first time when
I hate that
to keep
shit.
it simple, and then they teach you the truth later. And it's like, don't fucking just teach me the truth from the
And-
start.
and-
I don't have to unlearn some shit.
And it's totally fine if, in the context of teaching people, saying this is the simplified version.
right.
It's way more complex, but I'm teaching you the simplified version to get you started, and then you build on that. And what happens is when you don't provide that context, you end up with a lot of people who have taken a couple of semesters of econ and haven't gotten to like the third semester where they're like, all that stuff we taught you like doesn't work in the real world. Like there's so much more that you have to learn to actually model this shit out. It's way more complicated.
How can you say that so calmly?
I know it is tricky to say it so calmly, but what we gotta do. Oh yeah, before the next break, we should talk about the soup,
We haven't taken the
soup
first break,
business.
though.
We took a first break.
Oh shit.
You some soup.
Oh, Jesse's engaged in the conversation this week. He's like, he doesn't even remember. He's like, this is great.
Soup.
I've been going the whole time.
Just to talk a little bit about this relationship between Caleb and Janeway, because
I'm forgetting the soup.
we learn throughout the plot, of course, this very sad plot,
Drink.
that Caleb's delusions and his desire to see Janeway as his daughter is based on the fact that by all accounts, both his wife and his daughter are totally dead. And that his wife is dead because she wanted to fight for something that he was not willing to stick his neck out for, at least initially. And then when she died or got captured, from his perspective, he then became motivated to say, "Okay, fuck these guys,"
And then got his fucking
and then got his daughter killed in the process. And so that the guilt, I mean, that's what we're supposed to understand. I think it's, and you, I mean, they make that very clear. I think sometimes it doesn't, if you're seeing this episode for the first time, you might not realize how heavy that is, that this entire episode, all this guy's actions are because of these terrible tragedies that he's had to endure.
Mm-hmm.
So it's understandable, this delusion thing. My question,
So much tragedy for
And
one man
his
to bear.
nose is all funny.
and his nose is all fucked up and weird. Now, the question I have for both of you is
And the broken, wrinkled noses.
to what degree? To what degree? Oh, by the way, folks,
That's the Bajoran.
folks who are confused, go back one episode in the list to our discussion of Deep Space Nine's Waltz, and you'll understand some of those audio
Gold
clips.
Ducats.
But
He's a character.
So how
to what degree? I was just wondering. To what degree do you think that Janeway handled this well? She tries to deny.
I think she handled it pretty well.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I'm just curious because I've seen differing opinions on the internet in terms of how much is, because some people argue, just to lay it out there, some people argue that yes, Janeway is being kind of nice, but she's also using this guy.
Well, when he gave her the necklace, like she probably knew that his wife wasn't gonna. I mean, maybe not. Maybe she knew that his wife would be there. I guess you could say, but
I don't know.
I think secretly she was gonna give the necklace away, and she didn't care she was using him for that necklace a little bit, I thought. I don't know. Maybe you could argue against that. You could say she did think his wife was alive.
She wanted to get into that place.
Right.
This guy was conveniently.
She had to get there.
Being,
he was gonna
he was
come
in a position
along
to help.
no matter
She
what.
did keep trying to leave though, and he kept being like getting himself in trouble.
I think she realized the severity of everything once he was dying, and she had to say like, you know, all the stuff about how like, you know, it's gonna be okay.
No, but I'm saying in the beginning though, she was like kept trying to like leave, like when she first fell on the ship, and he kept like getting himself in trouble.
Can you write me a letter? And she was like, I'm sorry, I gotta go.
Yeah,
I mean, she could.
That was so upsetting. The whole scene when he's talking, when he's like trying to remember.
Yeah, I know.
I was like, oh my god,
my most recent letter is missing. It's like, where did it go?
Oh
like,
my
who took
god,
that? That's not even part of the story.
It was like something you'd see in Zelda or something, where you're just like, oh my god, I gotta help this person.
She could have tried harder to leave, but she didn't. But she did try, and he kept like being really sad. So
well, I'm on the side. My own personal opinion is that I think basically for the most part, Janeway handled this as best she could given the circumstance.
Yeah, like she always does.
But there is some. Jesse is pro killing Tuvix, as she always does. No, Janeway is presented with a lot of moral dilemmas, and this is an early one. And one reason why I love it so much is this is not a moral dilemma about ruining a whole planet or a whole sector or risking all thousands of lives.
A glorious starship.
The moral dilemma here is strictly, is it appropriate to use this gentleman's help when it's based off of something that you know not to be true? And the counterpoint, Dan, to your point is, yes, she did try to leave a few times. The point where she started to stay was when he made it more clear
that he was useful.
That he might have access to the prison, that he was familiar with it because his wife went there, because he lost his daughter there.
How old did he think she was? That's my question. I guess because on the one hand, he must have assumed she was like an adult or adultish, but on the other hand, he kept being like, "Oh, you and your games, you and your fantastic,
stories.
You and your story." Oh yeah, that's right. That's it was.
I love your stories.
That one.
I love your
I think
story.
given the context.
So I guess we're to assume we're to assume that he's so fucked up in the head that like he's just looking at her as a whole. But it still was kind of weird. It was like, wait, I don't know how old you think she is.
I think Joel Grey presented it well because it is complex. It is a complex thing to convey, which is, A, he's delusional to begin. So he's already got this trauma-induced delusion.
Trauma. He's got some trauma.
This guy, let me tell you, he's got trauma-induced delusions.
You know what I heard? The sports junkies once, they said drama once.
The sports junkies, that's a local sports radio.
Yeah.
You could not be more off-brand.
I think they used to be
on a Star Trek podcast.
I think they used to be syndicated to a few other stations around the U.S. But
all right. That's not the point I
but
was
they,
making.
instead of drama, I was making my own. Instead of drama,
the sports junkies.
Instead of drama, they would say drama.
Drama. Okay.
Avocado.
That was because you were talking about
rotisserie chicken.
Rotisserie chicken with French
Super
fries.
Mario Brothers.
I love Mario. You were saying something that was trauma. You were saying trauma instead of drama.
I'm saying that
you meant to say drama, but you said trauma.
KLM has
he meant to say
trauma.
drama.
He has trauma-induced delusions.
Traumatic.
That's point number one.
I've had trauma.
Why don't you tell us about it, Jesse?
It's a humble brag. I was like,
humble
I've seen some
brag.
fucked up shit. No, okay, we got to go to a break in a second. But what I want to get out is he's delusional is layer one. Layer two, the trauma that caused that delusion is the loss of his wife and daughter. So him imagining Janeway as one of those is fine. Okay. Yes, she left when she was presumably, I don't know, a teenager. I think that's the
teenager.
I think that's whatever the
was she a
alien
teenager
equivalent.
or something? Hey, what was she, man? Was she like a teenager or something, man? Hey, man.
Right.
Hey, man.
Good. That's a good character you're workshopping live on air.
Hey, man.
That's the hey man character.
Hey, man.
Hey, man.
Hey, man.
There's
You watch Star Trek?
Is there? Wait, is that David Bowie? Is like, hey, man.
Hey, man.
Hey, man.
Cat people. But what I was saying was cat people. David Bowie. What I was saying was that
I've never seen such a willful child.
We're very close to concluding this point.
How close are you?
Yes,
How close?
Because you were asking about the whole, what does he view her as? I think we're understanding that he's viewing Janeway as like multiple ages because he's treating her sometimes as almost an infant or a young child.
Because he's
other times as a teenager, other times as an adult, which he presumably can project that he's hoping his daughter is an adult by this point.
So we can presume
a number of years
we
ago.
can presume that she at least lived to her early 20s.
I wouldn't
late
say
teens,
that.
early
I think
20s.
I imagine, and I don't know if I'm getting this from the text or it was just a misapprehension on my part.
Text?
Yes, from the text of the show.
You mean the subtext?
No, the text.
The actual
text.
text.
There was no text. You read text.
Okay.
You hear it.
All right, friend. You're free. Okay.
The actors were reading
Dan's
it.
smiling. I mean, he knows that text is a term of art. It's a literary term.
Term d'art.
I don't know.
He's teasing me with his eyes.
I don't know.
He's not giving me the benefit of
We have
vocalizing,
insufficient evidence to
confirming
dismiss
this.
either conclusion.
Okay. Yes, I think my point is I think she was a teenager, but we.
And what happens?
We don't know yet.
Yeah.
All right.
So teenager. So she was at least a late teenager.
Or I don't know.
Is there something weird about saying that?
No, it doesn't matter. I just don't. There's not enough evidence. You got to play the Tupac. The Tupac. Like you already played it, but that's
We
the
have
one that's
insufficient evidence to dismiss either conclusion.
That's what I wanted to say. All
A
right.
glorious starship.
Yes, we will be right back.
We are back.
Who knew talking could be so exhausting?
Talking could be so exhausting.
Talking could be so exhausting.
I always have known that.
I have this labeled as dumb voice guy. I played this earlier.
Wake me if
my
the
voice.
lieutenant shows up, will you?
Wake me if the lieutenant shows up, will you?
Oh, yeah.
Wait, one more time.
Wake me if the lieutenant shows up, will you?
Hey, wait, man. Will you wake me? Hey, man. Hey, man.
Hey, man.
It's cool that they have the same rank structure as the U.S. Navy.
You can figure it out.
That's quite serendipitous. Serendipitous.
It is indeed.
Everybody has the Navy.
One time, Jordan was all like,
I'd wish you luck,
Except for the
but what you'll need is a
Romulans.
miracle.
"Hey, wait."
Who's that guy? Jordan?
I don't know. Jesse was talking over it.
I'd wish you luck, but what you'll need is a miracle.
And all I could think of, all I need is you. What I need is a miracle. All I need is you. That's all I could think of when he said that.
That's all you could think of.
Yeah.
And then you wrote it down in your notes.
Yep.
And you explained
You're a
that to us.
sensitive fellow.
I'd wish you luck, but what you'll need is a miracle.
And I need is you. Oh, wait, I did it wrong.
I'd wish you luck, but what you'll need is a miracle.
All I need is you.
I enjoyed the fact that the resolution to this episode, at least the resolution to the main plot bit, it was a good. I like these complications because you don't want it to be too easy. You don't want it to be like, here's our plan and then we do it.
I thought they were gonna I thought what was gonna happen is by accusing them of being subversives. I like the word subversives. Instead of
that makes me nervous.
The act of accusing them of that was going to turn them into that, but that's not really what happened. Yeah. They did become subversives, but it was because of this old man, which was actually that was a nice. I like that better than the. Well, I don't know which I like better. It'd be kind of neat to be like, yeah, I wasn't subversive until you accused me of being subversive, but I'm sure they've done all of them every time anyway, so it doesn't matter. They're both equally good.
They've done all of them every time. They those Star Trek people.
Big Star Trek.
No, but the plot resolving with
plot.
So they get this plan where they're like, okay, we know how to get into the prison, but we need to get weapons. So, okay, we go talk to the shady guy who maybe can get us weapons. And then it turns out that guy gets arrested, and Janeway is able to suss out the shiny jackboots of the fascist thug who has tortured the guy to get the information about wearing a blue vest or whatever.
Yeah, that blue vest.
So Janeway successfully managed to avoid getting arrested.
Because she are we to the part where she looked at the shoes?
Yes.
Yeah, so the shoes, Shawshank Redemption was released like just a year prior.
So you think they did a Shawshank?
I think they did a Shawshank thing. I think that's what they did.
Because in Shawshank Redemption, There's a joke about how often do you look at a man's shoes?
I don't know if that was a joke. It was more like
no, it's a joke.
Well, I mean, it was a story about like
It's a gag.
It's a gag. It's a story about the horrors of prison.
Shawshank Redemption is full of gags.
It's full of gags. Okay,
and that's one of the gags.
That is one of the gags. You're
how
right.
often do you look at a man's shoes?
You're right.
Waka waka waka.
It's kind of like
this one. Janeway's like, I look at them all the time. There might be coffee in those shoes.
It's kind of like after Jurassic Park, Velociraptors were in everything, and this is a lesser remembered one, I think, but. After Dances with Wolves, the word
there were wolves in everything.
There was no. The word
Jurassic Wolf.
The word Tatanka was being thrown around a lot.
Tatanka.
There was
Wasn't there a pro wrestler named Tatanka?
Yeah, and I mean he pro wrestled before Dance with Wolves, but I think he took the name Tatanka after that movie. Plus,
wasn't there a wrestler named Bam Bam Bigelow?
Yes, he's dead.
Wasn't there a wrestler named...
We're going to play this game.
Macho Man Randy Savage?
Yeah, for a while he was known as the Macho King because he stole the crown from Jerry the King Lawler.
And Roddy Piper is also deceased.
Do you
Jerry Lawler fought Andy Kaufman for that whole... That was a gag.
That was a gag.
Yep.
Did you know about the wrestler named Jake the Snake?
Yeah. He was in a documentary, and in the documentary he was like behind the scenes smoking crack, apparently, according to the documentary.
According to the documentary.
And he came out afterwards and was like, that was a fucked up documentary, basically.
I heard that crack was a hell of a drug.
Oh, I thought you were going to say you heard that crack was whack.
It is whack.
Okay, so that's been It's Got Wrestling, and now we're back to It's Got Star Trek, where we talk about Star Trek Voyager.
Wait, you said now we're back from It's Got Wrestling. You're the one who started that conversation, Patrick.
Okay, you're being very accusatory, and
you
I was
did.
being playful. I wasn't acting like we were having a problem. I'm just saying, like, now we're done with the wrestling talk.
We have insufficient evidence to dismiss either conclusion.
That clip is inappropriate in this context. Not inappropriate, it doesn't function properly.
It does.
No, it doesn't.
Yes, it does.
You're just making shit up now.
Don't move.
Did you run out of clips?
No, I got plenty of clips.
Just prove it.
Listen to me.
Willie!
Hey, Willie!
Got any
What does that mean?
Where were we? Okay, there. Oh, yeah, plot resolved. Oh, yes.
Then what happens?
Oh, yes. What I was meant to say is they can't get the weapons, and so Janeway comes up with a new plan using a sexy ruse to get weapons from the guards in the prison.
Poses as a good time.
That is a practical plan. It's a ballsy plan, and you have to have enough confidence that you can pull it off. But that is a good plan to be like, I will go up, I will pretend like I'm going to tug on this dude's wiener.
And I think it was this guy.
And then I'm going to like take his gun from him.
I think it was this guy.
Wake me if the lieutenant shows up, will you?
I think it was that guy.
Was it that guy or the other guy?
I don't know.
It was weird. They had the two guys, and that one other guy was
That
looming.
guy was sleeping.
The second guy was all looming and like kind of getting up, and he kept like hitching his pants up, but he didn't like go all the way to join. It was weird a little bit how that was directed.
I'll tell you one thing. You wouldn't catch Jean-Luc Picard pulling that seductive maneuver.
Nope.
Oh, you said that earlier in the podcast.
Yeah, but I'm just reminding you
But
in
now
case
you're
you
saying it
forgot.
in more of a jokey voice.
Because he's totally Patrick Stewart.
Yeah.
Who's Patrick Stewart?
Completely Patrick.
Who is?
Jean-Luc Picard.
Yeah. He wasn't accusing you of being Patrick Stewart.
Oh. Okay.
Did you think he was? Do you think Jesse was accusing you of being
thought
Patrick
he was.
Stewart?
I thought he was accusing Kate Mulgrew of being Patrick Stewart.
No, Kate Mulgrew is not Patrick Stewart.
No.
Patrick Stewart was never Mrs. Columbo.
No.
Patrick Stewart was never in Throw Mama from the Train.
Nope.
Hey, here's my son. Here's my son. Don't throw me off the train.
Erwin!
Get those goodies.
Erwin!
Get those goodies.
Flick shoes!
Yeah, you're gonna get those goodies. Don't throw me off the train. Man.
I like your blending of Anne Ramsey and Eric Cartman.
I know it does have a Cartman.
Lame.
Lame. Not cool.
Erwin!
It was pretty obvious she was going to end up with that necklace at the end. You knew the last scene would be her looking at that necklace.
Yeah, but it was.
It was fine. I didn't have a problem with it. No, I didn't have a problem with it.
You're
I'm flailing.
No, you're acting defensive when I.
No, I'm not acting defensive. I'm flailing. No, I was just making it clear before you decided to jump in with something smart.
I was just going to say that, yes, sometimes these things are predictable. I don't mind they're predictable when they're done well and it fits all together well. It's like, okay, yes, she's going to end up with the necklace. Now, the little bit of weirdness with the necklace is she was all like, when they were trying to trade for weapons, he was all like, you give me that necklace, I'll give you some weapons. She's like, oh, I couldn't. And then Caleb was
we already went over all this.
We didn't specifically state that. Caleb said, no, go ahead and you can use the necklace to sell it. And the thing is at the time she was like, oh, okay. But like he was saying like anything to get her back.
Yes.
And then Janeway was like, all right, cool. Even though like she knows in her head.
I said the same fucking thing. I said that exact same thing word for word.
I probably just wasn't paying attention.
Yeah, I think you weren't.
Well, when I listen back to this, when I edit it, I'll hear that part and I'll be all rueful about it. I'll be like, oh, you know what?
We were talking about, because you brought up how people online were saying that she was taking advantage of him.
And that was an example.
Where like she knew that guy, I said that exact same thing. Anyway.
Well, we'll go back and listen.
Play back
and
the
I'll
tape.
decide whether or not to feel guilty about not paying attention to you properly or not.
Well, I already know that this is a common occurrence from
I know
everyone.
I brought up like stuff that you said and everybody said.
Right.
I think we bounce better when we pay attention to each other more, but that's fine.
What'd you just say?
I don't know. I can't remember.
No, that was a gag.
That was a gag.
That was an old-fashioned gag. But yes, I guess I've gotten most of the point out about the whole resolution of the plot thing. How it's not so easy, right? But it all makes sense in the context of her figuring out a way to get the weapons and. We're watching our heroes here. We know they're going to win in the end. We've got this boring B story up in orbit where they're just sort of semi-competently going through
there's an electrical storm. Let's hide behind that. Oh, there's 85 cannons. Oh, no, it's like 85. Like, what does that even really mean to us? Well, I don't know what that means. Like,
and we have to trust because the camera goes to Harry when they say that, and he's got a look on his face that's kind of like maybe that's. Something to worry about, but it wasn't clear. Whereas, if Worf were back there, he'd be all like, "Oh shit," or whatever. He'd react in some way to be like, "Oh, that's some shady business."
That's what Worf would have said.
Yeah. Well, he would have said it with his eyes.
Metaphasic shields.
Say that 3 times fast.
Metaphysical, metaphasic, beyond
Metaphysical.
Phase,
Metaphysical.
beyond
Metaphasic.
I just have in my notes. I just have 2 words written. Tuvok screamed. Tuvok screaming. Why do I have to? I just wrote down Tuvok screaming.
That's a reference to when he was in prison and Alana was saying, like, was that you screaming?
Yeah, I don't know why I put that in there, though. Although above it I have written, oh yeah, she's wearing some kind of Kess outfit. B'Elanna. If you look at her outfit, it kind of looks Kessish, except not as bright in colors, darker colors.
You mean her disguise, her local disguise?
Yeah, her local disguise.
She might have borrowed. She might have borrowed. Some clothes.
They are in the same
Kess.
They are in the same quadrant, so it would follow that they would wear the same clothes, right? So
I don't think so.
It's just like every planet.
All the planets.
Every planet is one style of person.
They just have a different style of nose. It's always the same clothes, different nose.
Like
that old aphorism.
The whole planet looks like everyone's into the same shit on the planet. That's what happens when you travel in space. We don't have like states and countries. We just have planets and quadrants and solar systems.
This is the planet where everyone paints pictures. That's their main industry. Is painting oil paintings.
I like in Hitchhiker's Guide. Was there? No, I'm thinking the Red Dwarf book. There was like a trash planet. Which is the one that had a trash planet?
It's funny that you're specifically calling out the Red Dwarf book.
Yeah, it was. Yeah,
they might have had a trash planet on. On Red Dwarf. They had it in Marvel.
Well, I just remember specifically them talking about like
Thor
flying over a planet and just like dropping shit, and the whole planet was just like a landfill trash. I don't know. I don't think that wasn't Hitchhiker's Guide. I guess that was probably Red Dwarf.
I'm pretty familiar with Hitchhiker's Guide. And I'm not.
I think Unplanned Trek was talking about Red Dwarf. I think I heard them talking about it.
I should hope they were. I should hope so. Okay, let's see here. Any final thoughts before we start to wrap things up? I think we covered the main bits and pieces. It is very sad, this whole business, especially at the end. And again, Joel Grey does such a great job of actually portraying this character, but it's again upsetting when he manages to stab Ogress, presumably fatally, and those guards, when they see Ogress, I like that those guards. They were just like, "Fuck this."
Yeah,
they're like,
That's like they're like, "Let's get out of here, man."
We got our motorcycles are revved up and ready to go.
Yeah,
right around the corner.
They weren't even like, "Oh shit," and ran away. They just kind of slunk back. They're like,
carefully walked back. Which was a bit of levity added to.
Yeah,
a scene
I don't know
if
they meant it.
It clearly wasn't, but it kind of. I think it served in that function in contrast to Joel Grey as Caleb dying, being like, I did it for you. And Janeway's all like, yes, oh, they're alive. Everyone's alive. They lied to you. Everyone's fine. And again, yes, you could have a moral debate about whether or not to be truthful to somebody in their dying moments. I think it's
yeah, I know.
It's pretty easy to be like, come on, you can say whatever nice shit.
Yeah, I mean, my first instinct was to be like, well, she's fucking with him, but then I was like, it's like
it's like he's dying.
He's dying. Let
but
him.
And it sucks that he has to die.
He
doesn't have to die, but the writers chose to have him die to sacrifice himself.
This is the Caleb dying breath.
It sounds like some sort of Mario ghost.
Orbital sensor net.
At that point,
Bilana's on it.
She was crying at that point.
Yeah, she was sad. She wasn't crying, was she?
Yeah. Oh, Janeway at the end? She was bawling her eyes out.
Was she? How did I miss that? Do I just turn off emotions like that?
I think maybe. You might have that thing.
That
Dexter thing.
The Dexter thing. Oh, that thing.
As long as you only kill the bad guys,
so
it's just fine.
Is it so? What is it? Is it a sociopathy or a psychopathy?
I don't know. I ain't
one of them means
I ain't a clinical therapist.
One of them means you have a temper, and the other one you don't, or something. But they both involve not caring about people like dying or something. I don't really know the difference. What about socialism versus communism?
Okay, I'm better equipped in terms of my education expertise to define the differences between those two than psychopathy and what was the other thing?
Sociopathy.
Sociopathy, yes. Those we would have to look up. We'd have to go to Wikipedia. But I'm not in the mood to define.
I know the answer. I just don't want. I don't feel like it.
Exactly.
I know the answer, but I don't feel like it.
It would be imprudent of me to waste the time of our podcast audience.
I know the answer, but
regurgitating definitions which they can easily find.
I know. Google is your friend.
www.wikipedia.
Google is your friend.
.org.
Google is your friend. I know the answer, but I just don't feel like telling ya.
You know, you ever
Bilana's on it.
You get those? You see those questions online, like on Reddit or something like that?
No, never.
And somebody's all like, they're recounting somebody being a dickhead or something, like usually like while driving or whatever. Mm-hmm. And they're all like telling the story, and then like all the responses are explaining to the original poster that like they're like a piece of shit.
Oh, is that like, am I the asshole?
No, but so the am I the asshole is funny because people are always posting shit there, and most of the time they are the asshole, and a lot of that's just fake. I'm talking about when you find that kind of thing, except they're A, not asking if they're the asshole, and B, it's just out in the wild. It's not in a specific subreddit, right? They're just, they're assuming everyone's going to agree with them, and then everyone's like, man, it's always a dude, by the way. It's like, dude, you suck. Yeah, I
believe you.
Yes, that was a minor aside. We do like to include small amounts of off-topic conversation.
And what happens?
During the podcast, just to sort of increase engagement a little bit. It's all a carefully orchestrated thing we do here. We have multiple algorithms here. We have Dan's episode picking algorithm.
That's not possible.
And then we have a series of other algorithms that assign all three of us, we get assigned various tasks, like
and what happens?
When to be obtuse. It usually falls on me.
I can see.
When to repeat things ad nauseum. Definitely usually falls to Dan, but not always.
I only repeat stuff when I get interrupted. That's when I repeat stuff. And so it's not technically repeating if I keep getting interrupted trying to make my point. In fact, I often repeat myself just to make the point, like, we're going to keep going through this until someone doesn't interrupt me. That's what I do. It's all very planned out. Jesse, what the fuck, man?
Well, Jesse is often, the algorithm often assigns Jesse the role of indicating when it's time to go.
It's a request.
Because he just starts making a bunch of gibberish sound. Okay. I think we've covered everything that we need to cover.
Hey, do you know what this part is from?
Beloved pride. Beloved pride. Beloved pride.
No.
Beloved pride.
I took it. I took an earnest try in my brain to suss out where that's from.
Pride.
But I don't
Beloved pride.
Okay, it's this.
We need this completely filled. We don't have time to haggle over price. Beloved pride. Beloved pride.
Okay.
Beloved pride.
All right.
There was that.
That was good. That was good.
Yeah.
That was a good one.
That was purposely tricky.
Yeah.
I didn't expect anyone to get
I
it.
like these. I like these. These are good. I always enjoy the opportunity.
When else do I repeat myself ad nauseum? I'd be interested to know this.
That's it.
He's kind of doing it now.
You just can't just throw something like that out there.
I think you perhaps missed the context of the joke of the algorithm assigning us various duties. It would comically take a stereotype of each of our personalities and sort of extend upon it.
Yeah, well, stereotypes sometimes, not always, sometimes they're based on something. And so if you're making a stereotype about me, I'm assuming it's applicable to me for a reason that you have observed.
Or that I perceive that I have observed.
Fair,
because I may have misperceived or misobserved.
Right. Now you're just playing games.
I am trying to keep things on the up and up here.
What you're doing, that's a microaggression. That's a microaggression.
No. For real, it's not.
It is a microaggression. No. It is.
No, because I'm actively kicking you in the shins right now. Okay, so that will do it for us this week. That was a very good episode of Voyager. I hadn't seen that in a very long time. I've done a few watch-throughs of Voyager, but and I watched it all when it was on the air originally. I think most of us got caught most of the episodes right when they were.
And what happens?
But been a long time since I saw that episode, so
what does that mean?
I didn't remember a lot of it, and I really enjoyed it. It was upsetting. It was an intense episode. It was another example of how I think people often describe Deep Space Nine as sort of the darker Star Trek, and then Voyager was like more like TNG. Voyager was often way darker than TNG.
Yeah.
It didn't get as dark as Battlestar Galactica as maybe it should have given the context. That's what
Battlestar Galactica.
That's why Ron Moore did Battlestar Galactica, in part because he argued that they made that error with Voyager, having it lost out there, not going as dark as they could have. But Voyager had a lot of dark stuff, and a lot of particularly Janeway being put in the position to make some navigate some fucked up situations. And this was certainly a fucked up emotional situation. Low stakes, right? We're talking about a few people's lives, a few things going on here, but really engaging, a good example of how you can have such an engaging story with fairly limited stakes when it's very character level stakes. But I thought that was great. So next week, we don't know what we're going to talk about next week because we have to run it through Dan's algorithm. And Dan's algorithm...
Can you elaborate?
Okay, yes, thank you. Dan's algorithm will take this week's podcast, which we're finishing recording right now, and it will ingest it and pop out a list of which Star Trek episodes we should watch based on a comparison to the various scripts that are out there. So if you want to find out what you should be watching to listen to our podcast in preparation for listening to our podcast next week.
That's all I wanted to know.
Keep an eye out for us on social media at It's Got Star Trek, Twitter, Facebook, etc., YouTube. You can check out our website, www.itsgotstartrek.com. That would be awesome. You can rate and review. That'd be cool too, wouldn't it? And of course, in the not too distant future, we're going to start doing coverage of all the new episodes of Strange New Worlds.
Okay, let's do it.
That's my favorite one. That's really, I know awesome. It's not going to be an audience favorite maybe, but for me, that's great. Avery Brooks rules. But yes. And who knows what we'll do next week? We've done just a DS9 Voyager. So I don't know. Maybe it'll be TNG or something like that. We'll see.
Evidence.
Okay. But I think did I get all the back matter? Did I finish all the stuff?
Yep.
I think
you got all the back matter? Is that what you just said?
Yes, I'm starting to
You got the fucking back matter?
Yeah, like on the back of a book.
Rakana!
The blurb.
Her name was Rakana?
Ralkana.
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 That's what I wasn't getting. I wasn't quite getting the Ral. Good.
Orbital sensor net.
Okay. Well, follow us and you'll see what we'll talk about. We'll talk about it next week. It's going to be great. Regardless, we can guarantee
it's got
understood.
It's going to be great. That's been Star Trek. That's had Star Trek. All right. We'll talk to you next week. Goodbye.
Bilana's on it.
My Sailot fought a La Mancha in the Langon foothills.
We ain't found shit.